Hello, my name is Tom, and I produce music like the song you're hearing now. In this episode of Understanding Synthesizers, I'm going to talk about an effect that is a global favourite in music production, reverb. If you look at the definition of reverb, it's one of those annoying instances where the word is used to define itself. It says, an effect whereby the sound produced by an amplifier or an amplified musical instrument is made to reverberate slightly. So, reverberate is when a sound is heard several times over as an echo. But in music production, this presents some confusion, as we often refer to this effect as delay. When we refer to reverb in music production, we often mean the time it takes for a sound to die away after it has occurred. Natural reverb exists everywhere, and is one of the things that helps us associate a sound with an environment. It wasn't until the invention of artificial reverb in the late 1930s that recording engineers were given the ability to control and shape the sounds of spaces where their instruments were being placed. The earliest artificial reverb effects were created by simply outputting recordings made in acoustically deadened rooms through a loudspeaker placed in a reverberant space and capturing the resulting sound. Eventually, this developed to lead us to plate reverb, where an input signal is turned into vibrations that are transferred to a large metal plate, the sound of which is recorded by an attached pickup. We also have spring reverb, which works in a similar way, but in a much more compact form of a spring. The reason I tell you about these is because today they are emulated in digital reverbs we commonly use. One of the more advanced features of digital reverb is the ability to take a recording of an area's reverb and apply that reverb to any sound. This is particularly useful when doing sound design for film or other media where you want to accurately emulate the reverb of a location. We can also use maths to do this. Measuring how long a sound takes to die down gives us the RT60, which is essentially the decay time of a space. This math is not only useful for production, but can aid in designing recording spaces and other functions. There's some more to explain here, but the best way to move on is to look at the standard controls that reverb units share. Firstly, we have the dry and wet fader. This is fairly self-explanatory. If a signal is set to fully wet, then we will only hear the reverb. And this is commonly used when we're sending effects to a reverb bus, and we only want to hear the reverb signal from the bus. Obviously, if we set the fader all the way to dry, then we'll hear the sound without any reverb. Next up is the pre-delay. This determines how long it takes for the reverb to play after the sound. The longer the pre-delay, the longer the implied space. This is sort of like an attack time that we covered in envelopes. So in a particularly large space, it might take a while for us to hear the echoes of the sound after it's played. Next up, we have decay time. This is essentially the release, how long it takes the sound to fade away. A long decay also indicates a large space. Sometimes this might be referred to as size, sometimes size is a separate control. In these instances, it's best to refer to the manual for the manufacturer's definitions. Usually a shorter size and decay offer room-like sounds, or metallic and artificial environments. The other common control you will often see is damping. This just offers filtering of high frequencies to create a more realistic reverb. I could probably spend another half an hour talking about the various other controls and systems offered by reverb units, especially some of the more complex algorithms and diffusion networks, but each of these are very unique, and you will need to make sure you briefly study each unit separately when using them, as the definitions are a little mixed. Personally, I prefer to set all of my reverb up through a bus unit, like this example we can see in Ableton. Other people like to include a subtle amount of reverb on every sound in a different way. Reverb is an extremely powerful tool for creating a consistent sound across your productions. Learning to use it with bus channels and send effects will become an everyday tool for you to ensure every part of your production belongs in the theoretical space it occurs. You'll find this especially helpful when dealing with live instruments and also for maintaining a consistent atmosphere across your mix. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you've learned something. Any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I'll see you next time.